I didn't want to drive a truck until I did. At 16 years old, I worked at Six Flags Over Texas up in Dallas-Fort Worth. And I worked in the warehouse. And working in the warehouse, we got to unload trucks. And I say we got to, and that was fun. It was hand unloading all kinds of stuff. And it was not fun. We didn't have any material handling equipment. We had our hands, we had our backs, and that's what we did. We didn't get pallets of stuff, we got boxes. One day a 379 Pete pulled in, pretty sure it was. It might have been a 359, I don't know, it's been a long time. And that thing was decked out. It was a good looking truck. And the driver, we needed him to go around to the front of the park, which is a little bit extra, because he had a big driving simulator video game, racing game or whatnot. And to offload it, we needed him at the front of the park. And we were gonna meet him over there. And he said, all right, which one of you is gonna ride with me and show me exactly where to go and pull in? I did. And I hopped in the passenger seat, and it was only about 3 or 4 minutes in the truck, but I realized this is kind of a cool gig. This may be something I'd like to do. I originally thought I was gonna be an engineer or an architect or even follow in my dad's footsteps and sell insurance. But here we are. Been driving one of these for a long time. 18 years old, went and worked on the freight dock, doubling my pay just as a part-time dock worker, but I saw all the yard trucks and all the equipment moving in and out, and the trailers backed up to the dock, and the hooking of the sets and the breaking down of the sets of doubles. And I was like, you know what, I think I'd like to give that a shot. So my supervisor out there on the dock at Overnite said, punch out at midnight and then hop in a truck and go. So I punched out at the end of my shift, and the yard jockey there, his name was Hofdahl, that was his last name. I can't remember his first name. But he said, hey, if you're gonna drive one of these yard trucks, you need to learn how to drive a truck first. So he threw me in an R model Mack and showed me the shifting, showed me where all the lights were and everything. Keep in mind, this is the first time in a truck behind the wheel after dark, 1 o'clock in the morning on a freight yard, a busy freight yard. And he showed me where everything was. He said, see that cord up there? I said, yeah. He said, give it a tug. Bump, bump. You're a truck driver now. Sure. So I ended up hooking up to an empty 28-foot pup trailer, and he's like, go play over here on this side of the yard. And there's a big wide open area. Nobody goes down there. There's a spot wide enough to back up 3 of these pup trailers and just get the feel of it. See what it takes to back a trailer up. It took me 45 minutes to back my first trailer up. This is a truck that didn't have any power steering. It was all right here. That's where the power steering was. And it just kept getting squirrely and difficult. And anyhow, we got it done eventually. I ended up becoming a yard jockey there at Overnite for pretty close to 3 years. I had turned 21, still didn't have my CDL. Ended up leaving Overnite and went over to Conway Southwest Express, or actually it was just becoming Conway Southern Express. And they had a CDL school over in Dallas, and I worked at the dock in Fort Worth. So in the morning I would show up, work the dock, get the city drivers out, punch out, drive over to the Dallas terminal or service center, and not on the clock, drive a truck. In the yard, learning to drive a truck. I already knew how to back up. I had that figured out. I knew how to shift. I knew all those things, but you still have to go through a driving school to get your CDL. And that didn't cost me a penny. It just cost me time and, you know, gas to and from Dallas from South Arlington. So it was 6 weeks of intensive training in the summer, no power steering, no air conditioning, the old school way, the difficult way, because once you do get in good equipment, it's so much easier, so much nicer, so much better. And you have an appreciation for when things are not so easy. So I've worked for Conway, I've worked for KLLM, I've worked for Celadon, I've worked for Central Freight Lines, I've worked for Overnite, I've worked for Ryder Logistics, I've worked for Cardinal Logistics, and right now I'm scratching the trucking itch with Craig DeRue up here in Mineral, Illinois. The job's pretty easy, and I've only got another week and a half or so, and I'm done, I'm out. This job has been pretty easy. The most difficult part is Chicago traffic, you know, but it's at 7 in the morning, so it's the morning rush, and we're usually kind of on the outbound side once you're loaded up and rolling, so it's really not too bad. You know, somebody goofs up in front of you, then you'd be sitting for a little while. But everything we deliver is outside of the city of Chicago. Bolingbrook, Plainfield, Champaign, Peoria, Rockford, you know, far-flung stuff, couple hours, most of it, out of town. And it's nice. You deliver to Costco's, you deliver flowers, you get them to the store, they're on racks, you roll them off, you load empty racks back on, you take them back to the farm out in Knoxville, Illinois, offload those empty racks, reload with fresh flowers, turn around, take them back up to the north side of Chicago for the next morning. About a 500-mile round trip, give or take 50 miles, depending on where you go. Easy money, easy money. You know, you still gotta mind what you're doing out there on the road. I mean, there's no such thing as the perfect trucking day, I don't think. But this comes pretty close. You're getting the miles in, you're getting down the road and doing the job. You're seeing the same people pretty much every day, so you get into a routine. If it's a routine thing that you like, then this is the kind of job you want to get. Yeah. The guys that taught me all about trucking back in the day were Korea and Vietnam War veterans, and they found a home in trucking. I did too, and they made it tolerable. I think that's the best way I can put it. They made the job tolerable. They showed me what to do. They didn't pull any punches, taught me what they knew and how to operate, and I carry that on to this day, even though I'm just kind of a part-time, semi-retired truck driver. So I spent years driving, got over 2 million miles, over 20 years behind the wheel, virtually incident-free. There was a couple little dings here and there, but nothing of great consequence, and I'm thankful for that. I've had the opportunity to go to 46 of the lower 48 states with a heavy emphasis on Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Western Tennessee. Spent a lot of time, and Oklahoma, a lot of time in those places. But I've been pretty much everywhere. Top 2 corners I haven't hit, Washington, Maine. So I've been all over, and trucking has been a good job. It's been an adventure, but at this point, if somebody said, hey, I want to learn how to drive a truck, if you're looking at going over the road, I don't suggest it. I really don't. Not at this point. If I was 21 years old and hadn't even thought about driving a truck, and I looked at what was going on out here, the current day and age, with the technology, with CDL mills, with non-domiciled CDLs, just going through the roof in Texas and Illinois and a couple of other locations, that's a problem that needs to be addressed. It's not as safe of a road as it once was. 90s, 2000s, 2010s wasn't too bad. There was distracted driving, but this thing right here and all the technology that is supposed to help us hurts us on the road. It's dangerous out here, absolutely dangerous. And I'm not telling y'all anything you don't know, but it's worse now, in my opinion, than it ever has been. Now, it's a small sample size that I have. I've got this 500-mile loop that I do, and I don't really differentiate from it. I don't leave the state of Illinois. I don't leave the northern half of Illinois. 500-mile circle. Same places every day, days on end. So what's going on in Ohio versus Jersey versus California versus Oregon, I don't know, because I'm not out there. I'm not driving all over. This is just a part-time thing I'm doing. And I've only got another week and a half, and I'm out. I'm done. And this will be most likely the last time I drive. 2 years ago, I had a heart attack. 2 years ago at 49. And it took me by surprise. My whole family, both sides, rock solid, healthy all the way up to 75, 80 years old. No heart issues, nothing. And then I had mine. Now, what caused it? Could be a number of things. Could be the industry that I was in, sitting around most of the time, most every day. Could be the last few years of sitting around. See how I'm going here? Sitting around, working on a computer, working on video editing, photography, things like that. Not being active enough. When I was 19 years old, one of my coworkers introduced me to mini thins. Now, some of you know what I'm talking about. White crosses, pink hearts, mini thins, ephedra. And back then, you could buy it at the gas station. You could buy a bottle of 100 for like 10 bucks at the gas station all day long, any gas station. And basically, it was a legal form of speed. Now, on the bottle, it said you can take up to 4 in a 24-hour period. I would start my shift with 20 to 25 of them. So yeah, that stuff will get your heart going fast. Make your head itch, your hair stand up on end, you're wired for sound. You can smell the color 9. I also smoked excessively back then. 2 to 3 packs of Marlboro Reds per shift. Yeah, and 3 or 4 1-liters of Pepsi or Dr. Pepper. Every shift, 5 days a week. The mini thins were not habit forming. I never took them away from work. I had a day off, whatever. They staved off exhaustion from being tired. Oh, it would just get you going. But I think it did a number right here. That with the smoking and drinking copious amounts of beer and everything else, maybe even a couple of experimental shots 2 years ago might have sealed the deal, brought it all to a head. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But I have 2 stents in my main artery, the LAD, I think they call it, arterial descending. It's, I'm not a doctor, like I said. So 2 stents, keep everything flowing like it should. It does seem different out here. And the reason I say that is it's quieter. That doesn't mean safer, it's quieter. And it's not a shortage of truck drivers. No matter what the ATA says, that is incorrect. There may be a shortage of drivers in particular pockets, particular industry sub-segments. I don't know this stuff. I'm not FreightWaves. I know for a fact that if it's a specialty haul of some sort, like hauling windows where you have to hand unload those, which I did for almost 10 years, you will have shortages of drivers because the plant is in one area and people either don't have the experience to do the job, don't have CDL, they have a CDL but they want to be home every single day, or they have a CDL and they have worked there, or they know somebody that works there and they're like, it's not for me. So you do have a shorter, smaller pool of available drivers. Mega carriers, I'm not a mega carrier, but I don't think they're having a problem with the shortage of drivers. because when one goes out, there's another one in line ready to hop right back in that seat and keep that thing moving at 28 cents a mile or whatever they're making these days. I have no idea. So the early years of driving a truck, you know, mid-90s, we'll say, truck stops are full. Yeah, I'd go to the Petro out in Weatherford, Texas on the way to El Paso running team. And you had trucks lined up trying to get fuel. You had the restaurant 24 hours. It was open. It was full. There were people busting in and out and doing what they do and getting on with their day, whatever time of day that was. Didn't matter. Doesn't seem that way anymore. Again, small sample size, but every night that I've been on this particular run, I end up about 4 p.m. at the Rochelle Petro, Rochelle, Illinois, 39 and 88. And kind of starting to know people there. I mean, I'm there every freaking day. But it never fills up. It never fills up. There's always a parking spot available. I don't care what time of day it is. 7 p.m., 2 a.m., whatever. You'll find a spot. It's probably not that way over on the East Coast. It's probably not that way out California. But here, out here in the middle, there's space, there's room. One of the sad things is after that damn pandemic is everything shuts down at the end of the day. You used to have 24-hour Walmart, 24-hour food, 24-hour this. No. You better get your food by 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. or you're going to be waiting until tomorrow morning for breakfast. It's just the nature of it. The demand is not there. There's not enough drivers out here, at least in this area, to warrant these places being open. It's just the sad reality of it. Yeah. You know, when it comes to retirement from an industry, a lot of times with trucking, you're forced into retirement due to health. Could be a heart issue like me. It could be diabetes. It could be cancer. It could be a number of different things. The drivers just age out faster than other industries. That's just the nature of the beast. That's what this job does to you. It chews you up and it spits you out. If you combat it by eating relatively healthy and moving yourself, walking, jogging, riding a bike as often as you can, daily's preferred, every other day, whatever, you can stave off the eventual health issues that will come with a somewhat sedentary lifestyle that trucking gives you. You sit for 500 miles and you park and you eat and you go to bed and you wake up and you do it again. It's not doing you any favors. Now, Tex, I'm 25, 30 years old and I'm fit as a fiddle. I can do whatever for now, but time is undefeated and it's going to get you. It's going to get you. So do what you can to keep yourself active and as healthy as you can. That's all I can say. I ain't no doctor, but there are certain things I wish I had done when I was a little bit younger that might have stopped this from having an issue a couple of years back. But what's done is done. Yeah, what's done is done. It's been a good run. It's been a real good run. And we're at the end of it. We're at the end of it. And another week, week and a half, driving this big green money-making machine. And that's it. That's it. There won't be any more getting behind the wheel professionally driving a truck. I'm done. I'm out. I said that in 2016, but Daru brought me back in and said, come on, one last go. One last hurrah. Yep, that's what it's been. It's been one last hurrah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Really appreciate it. Want to send a special thanks real quick to Craig and Chris Daru for trusting me to drive this truck and not run anybody over. It's been a fun run. It's been a lot of work. It's been good work. It's been good, dedicated work getting the flowers to the people of Illinois. Thank you.